Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me today. It's Allan Laboucan from the Rocks and Stocks News Show. We've got a new company to cover today that I'm very excited about hearing about their story because there's two reasons that I started following the company. One of our friends of the show in Rob McEwen uh, made an investment in Emperor Metals, and additionally, they've drilled into high grade gold. Rob and myself are big fans of high grade gold as an Emperor is getting it with the Truth Machine. So I'm really happy to have John Florek on to talk about Emperor Metals. Thanks for joining us, John.
Yeah, great to be here, Alan. Thanks for the invite.
So I guess the first topic of the day might be our the gold price. It sure is performing very nicely this year, and it's actually had kind of a basing period, and then a run, another basing period, and now another run. It's what's your thoughts on gold these days, John?
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. I think we're at the cusp of something big here because I'm just waiting for quarter two earnings to come in for these major companies. I mean, the gold price for this quarter, what, $2,300 gold potentially. So I think that a lot of these companies are going to exceed expectations or outperform in regards to profitability. So people are not paying attention to this part of the industry, but their heads are going to turn once these quarter two results get published. And so I'm looking forward to that because I think that's when it's going to happen. That's when we're going to have a big run. And so I'm anxiously awaiting quarter two results because I know that's going to trickle down to the explorers and advanced projects like we have here, especially in a tier one district, which we're located, where we
Yeah,
could be
yeah,
supplemental feed.
that's huge. Well, first of all, on the gold price, you're speaking to the converted. That's the exact catalyst that I've been talking about for the last month and a half. Is the impressive average price of gold, the best ever for a quarter, probably about $300 more per ounce than the average price of the first quarter, and several companies like Agnico Eagle, Alamos, companies that are picks in my reports, did very well. And I think they're headed for windfall profits. And as you said, that will result in generalist investors. They have to pay attention to that. And I think it's going to be good for a lot of gold stocks. And when it comes to the juniors, John, I find a lot of companies are, not doing a lot of work right now and certainly not doing enough to get their story out there. And that's what my platform is all about. So I'm really glad you took me up on the offer to come on and tell your story.
Yeah, I mean, we have 16,000 meters of core that's going to be assayed this year. So 8,000 of that is drilling, and another 8,000 is historical core assaying.
Oh,
Like this property already had 100,000
before we
meters
get
drilled
into the
in.
drilling, let's start
Yeah.
with the location. Quebec is one of the best jurisdictions in the world. And the Abitibi Greenstone Belt is one of the most prolific belts in the world. So you've got, as they say in real estate, you got location, location, location.
Yeah, the location is everything. We have an Eco Eagle to the west. We have an Eco Eagle to the east of us. We have Newmont in the district. Barrick just made a re-entry into this district. There's been over 200 million ounces of gold that's been that's come out of this district. So that's huge. That's like 90% of the gold in Canada was mined in this district. And there's huge opportunity still. And we're sitting on one of the major plumbing systems that introduced gold into the district. It's called the Porcupine Dester Fault, which I'm sure you're aware of. We
Very.
straddle it. We straddle it. We have these Temiskaming conglomerates, and you know the importance of that,
Yep.
that are all over our property as well. So it's very, very exciting.
So you're in the right environment for the fluids to be driven up. which has happened all over the Destor Porcupine Fault. Folks, these faults are cracks in the earth that allow the fluids to make their way up. And this brings us to the drilling, because not only do you want to be in the right structural environment, obviously you want to hit it with the drill hole, and that's exactly what you guys have done.
Yeah, and so I mean, like I told you before, we're seeing mineralization at weaknesses like between rock types. So they're structurally related, but we also have lithologically related to gold. We have these QFPs that are mineralized. It's a unique category of basically intrusion-related Archean lode gold systems. So we're seeing not only we have about these high-grade lenses on this deposit that we were attracted to initially. We had a historical mineral resource of 727,000 ounces of gold with an average grade of 5.4 grams per ton.
Wow.
What was really exciting about this, Allan, was it had an average thickness of 5.7 meters. And the rocks look very, very beautiful. They're highly altered. We initially introduced this to investors as a high-grade underground gold deposit that can be used as a satellite deposit or supplemental feed for all the existing mills in the area. There's like 6 different mills and tailings dams that a mine like us can use in the vicinity.
Okay.
But with our 2023 drilling, basically we saw that the host rock also contained like this 1 gram per ton material. We have, for instance, one of our holes, hole 2, we hit 25 meters of 1.69 grams per ton gold. No one sampled the host rocks previously. They only sampled the high-grade lenses because you just have to go back in history. And the vision here was you couldn't build these large-scale open pit deposits in this district. It was mainly a high-grade underground gold district.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until Canadian Malartic and Detour Lake Gold, which I was chief geologist up at Detour Lake Gold, and now Cote Lake building a big in Greenstone. So they're building these big open pit. It's been proven that we can successfully mine these large scale open pits in the Superior Province. And so this is what we're going to do. An example of that, Barrick left the district like in 2008. Okay, they went adventurism abroad. They went to Pakistan. They went to Nevada, Argentina, wherever they went. But now they remade an entry back into the district in 2023. Their old office, when they came back in 2023, is now gone. It's been obliterated because Canadian Malartic mined their office away. They were sitting on an open pit that they're looking for here.
Well, you're touching on my heartstrings a little bit there, John, because you hit on 2 that I picked very early. One was Canadian Malartic with Osisko, and the other was Detour Lake.
Nice.
And so they turned out really good. So I do have a soft spot in my heart for the region, and Quebec in particular. And something you touched on there, though, that I wanted to tell my audience a little bit about is, so gold-bearing fluids come from deep, and they need a pathway to make their way closer to the surface. And that's these big cracks in the earth. The Destor Porcupine is one of the famous ones. But then as they get close to surface, you look for secondary faulting, and also the right kind of layers of rocks that the fluids can make their way into. And so that is what John was talking about, and what I wanted to talk about as well, because that's what leads to finding lots of gold.
Yeah, so basically chemistry is everything. Location,
Yep.
location, but chemistry is important. So anytime you have pressure drops, so those fault zones of low pressure zones, you dump gold out of solution. Okay, you can hit a rock with high iron. Iron helps gold precipitate out of solution as well. So one of the things that we did up at Detour Lake Gold, like I arrived in 2016, they were not making much money. They were break even to losing money at the time. But when I arrived, me and our team, we built the first new geochemical domains for estimation with our grade control model. When we published that at the end of 2017, beginning
Hey,
of two,
folks, he's getting into a little geology here. I want to break it down for you again. So, alteration, chemistry, when you have a gold bearing fluid and it interacts with those rocks, it alters those country rocks, and big systems tend to leave big footprints. And when that's being said, they're talking about the alteration, and the chemistry are telling you that you're into a big system. And so I wanted to break it down a little bit for my audience, John.
yeah. So basically, we built these new models, and actually, we refined these models using AI because you couldn't build these domains. They were so complicated. There's many geochemical parameters we were using. We're using like discrimination diagrams and stuff like that to categorize these domains. And when we put that through the mill, we saw an increase of about 20% more gold going through the mill. And if you look back at their reconciliation, that's when they started making a lot of money. Basically, Kirkland Lake took out Detour Lake Gold. They saw how profitable it was going to be. And then eventually, Anico Eagle saw the generational mine that it would become. And they took out Kirkland Lake along with their other assets like Fosterville and Macassa. So I was part of that whole story, that whole narrative, and our team, using some of this new technology, like this company that we have right here, it was birthed in artificial intelligence. We evaluated deposits. We picked this up based on its potential. Some of the work that I was doing with my team up at Detour
Sorry
Lake
to
Gold.
interrupt you again, John, but
Yeah, no problem.
I got non-geologists on my audience, and so I like to
Okay.
break things down as best I can. And so, getting back to these alterations in the chemistry, that's a lot of data. And so, how to massage that data to bring out the story is what artificial intelligence really gives you the ability to do, because it's all about big data sets, refining that data to help you pinpoint where to go.
You know what? I call that AI squared. Okay. The two I's are improve and impact, and the A is accelerate. So improve the efficiency by using artificial intelligence. It's like having 10 geologists and you don't have to pay them because it's just part of the program. And it really, because the quickness and the speed that we can go through the data set, it really accelerates our decision-making skills. And that has a huge impact on our business. So yeah, it's basically that simple.
And that's really important, folks, because drilling is not cheap. And the higher probability you can refine your targeting with is going to save you money at the end of the day and help you find what you're looking for. And so that's some of the things that John is talking about, is to refine your targeting and maximize your potential for success when it comes to using the truth machine.
Yeah, and talk about cost savings for investors. And we're running this program probably this summer at about $200 per meter, all in costs.
Wow.
Last year we did 250. This year it's a little lower because,
Is
like I
that
said,
core?
that's core.
Wow. Like in
Yeah, because
Nevada, that's like half the cost of Nevada these days.
yeah, even further north, people are paying $600 to $800 a meter. So that's why we're able to get 16,000 meters through the assay lab for a low price of $3 million. So good bang for your buck. We're building a big deposit. We can grow ounces quicker in an open pit environment because we can mine an order of magnitude lower grade, like 0.3 grams per ton. And that's going to help us rapidly build ounces a little bit more quicker because we're mining those lower grades potentially
Now,
in
are
the
you
future.
talking about 0.3 as a cutoff? Or
Yes, in the open pit
um,
environment.
Okay, okay.
3 grams underground, 2 to 3 grams underground. That's the vision. And when we go into this conceptual open pit environment, we could potentially mine zero point 0.3 grams per ton and higher.
So getting into those kind of discussions, folks, a lot of people, when they look at a resource, they get really focused on the grade, or sorry, the amount of ounces in a resource. What I actually pay the most attention to is the cutoff grade and the average grade. The cutoff grade, depending on the inputs you put into it, gives you an indication of how low cost the operation will be. And if you have a high margin between your cutoff grade and your average grade, that talks about the potential profitability of a project. And so everybody says grade is king, and then they look at a resource and they say, well, size is king, I guess. But reality is that margin is king. And it doesn't really matter if you're looking at a high grade operation or a low grade open pit type situation. It's that margin between your cutoff grade and your average grade that gives you an indication of what the margin will be. And where Emperor is, I often say that, you know, when you get a low cost of exploration costs, it's often a sign of your potential for low costs in a mining operation. That's not always true, but it's a good rule of thumb.
Yeah, absolutely. And what better place to look and expand ounces next to a deposit that has significant thickness and grade? You know that dynamics are working for gold to drop out of solution. So you reduce your risk as an explorer if you're drilling on the margins of these things. So it was a no-brainer for us to pick up the project. And at a time when people were not really funding grassroots plays, this was a more advanced project that people could grasp onto. So we were able to raise money to continue with this development of this potential asset.
So your drilling sounds to me like sort of a dual focus. You're looking for high grade underground and high grade open pit.
Well, okay, so we started off, we introduced this in investors in 2023 as a high grade underground gold deposit with these 8 different lenses. And we saw that as a big win because, like you talked about, the proximity to the mills. And if this was a satellite, you wouldn't have those high CapEx costs because you wouldn't have to build a mill or a tailings dam. So you're looking at quick payback periods, a good rate of return, and a healthy NPV. That was the vision. But then we saw this low grade potential on the margins of this, and we envisioned that high grade open pit. So now we have 3 scenarios. We have the open pit environment, we have the high grade lenses in the open pit, we have the low grade bulk tonnage in the open pit. Then we have the underground high grade lenses. That's scenario 2. And then the third scenario in the future would be potentially, low grade bulk tonnage underground. If you look at Agnico Eagle's Goldex mine, their average grade underground for this mine is 1.62 grams per ton.
Oh,
You look at our 2023
they
drilling.
must be block caving that, right?
Yeah, exactly. And if you look at our average grade, you look at one of our holes in hole 2 at 25 meters, 1.68 grams per ton. So that was exciting because that was even above what an Eco Eagle is mining underground there. So I don't know. There's a lot of different avenues to grow gold. That's why we like it. And so we're here to add in ounces internally and externally to deposit and grow the footprint, whether it be in the near surface environment for open pit or continue the underground opportunities.
So you just had some news out, and good thick intersections of nice high grade starting really close to the surface there. Heck of a good combination, John.
Yeah, absolutely. So in 2024, the plan was to build those inferred ounces in the open pit with the high grade lenses and also those low grade bulk tonnage stuff to reduce stripping ratios and really get this to a nice profitability open pit type scenario. And what we saw over to the eastern end of our property, the NIP zone, some really good grades, like 16 grams per ton over six, sorry, 16 meters over 6 grams per ton, or
Wow.
like 50 something grams per ton over 2.5 meters in some of the higher grade intercepts. And so right now, our ultimate pit is about 1.8 kilometers wide, long, 800 meters wide down to 400 meters deep. And so we're seeing if we could start expanding eastward towards the NIP zone where you have these good grades that are on the property. And there's a big gap between the NIP zone and where we have the 100,000 meters of drilling. So we want to know what's in between there too.
So you've
So
got this conceptual outline that is not just got attractive grades in the lower grade portion, but it's juiced up by having high grade cutting through there. So you got little jewelry boxes cutting through your pit design.
yeah, I mean, I love it because what's unique about these, our key and load systems, if you go to like maybe Carlin or Porphyry copper type deposits like you see out west, their stockpiles are certain, their ROMs are a certain grade, like a couple of grams per ton. Here we can have high grade stockpiles, we can have lower grade stockpiles, and dependent upon the needs of anybody in the district, whether they're just trying to have efficiency at their mills, you can feed them the low grade stockpiles. But if it's Q4, like I was speaking to you earlier,
Yeah.
and you're trying to meet guidance, you can send those 6, 7, 8 grams per ton stockpiles to the mill so people can make their ounces for the year.
So what John is describing there is sometimes you get projects that the mill is not being fully utilized, maybe 40, 50, 60% of its capacity. And you always, in economies of scale, you always want to be running it as to close to nameplate, right? And so to do that, you would need additional feed. And if down the road you have additional feed, that could help you to get your up to nameplate capacity. But the other thing is then if you've got high grade material that can help juice up your quarter, maybe you're running at 80% and then you can juice it up with some high grade. This makes for very attractive stockpiles of material when it's just down the road from a bunch of mills. And that would be a very attractive material to those operating mills for those particular reasons.
Absolutely.
So where you sit now is how much is the drill program and how much have you completed and how much have you reported of what you have completed so far, John?
Yeah, so we just completed, I just had a press release out, 30% of the drilling is done out of the 8,000 meters.
Yeah.
What's nice is that we talked about Q2, right? And the profits that'll probably some of these mining houses will realize. Our news flow probably should be starting in September. We're going to get some assays back, okay? And we're going to wait until we get a reasonable amount of assays back before you have a press release like you do. You don't just report, 100 meters when you have 8,000 meters coming your way.
Yeah.
So that's going to be timed perfectly with hopefully an exuberance in the market. So we have 16,000 meters of news flow ahead of us that will probably, hopefully, all be cut, assayed, and reported by December. So it's going to trickle out from September.
To December, you'll have assay results coming out regularly in
Correct.
what you and I think is going to be a better market for gold stocks.
Absolutely. It's perfect timing, in my opinion.
Okay.
And at the end of that, that's when we're going to take all our data from 2023, 2024, and all the historical drilling, and basically do a mineral resource update. We're going to brand it as Emperor's Deposit. So we want to do our own mineral resource update.
right.
So that's the vision. That's the catalysts coming forward in the near term. So lots of catalysts, lots of press releases. So interviews with with
Guys
you,
like me.
Alan, for any kind of updates you might want. So
Yeah. So, just a little bit, Quebec, great jurisdiction for mining. And what about the access and the seasonality? Do you have infrastructure around you to get to your project easily? And what's the drilling season like? Can you give us a little outline on that
yeah,
stuff as well, John?
we can drill all year long. We have a highway that runs right through the middle of the property. It's
A
perfect.
highway?
We're in a be Yeah, highway.
Oh my gosh, okay.
Yeah. So we're completely in I guess a lot of it's interesting. We're right in the middle of this district. A lot of those highways were built along basically the Porcupine-Destor Fault or along the Cadillac
Lot of
Fault
break.
because it was an easy route to put a basically a highway because of these plumbing systems or structures. So all these deposits in the areas have pretty much a highway going through
Oh, that's
it
beautiful.
because it's where geology and construction agreed.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And so how far are you from the nearest town?
Yeah, so Rouen, well, I think you say Rouen. I don't speak French, so
Ron
it's a little
Noranda.
yeah, Naranda. It's about 30 minutes south of us.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, so it's a nice place.
So again,
Every
folks, this when John was explaining how low cost the exploration drilling is, when you're only 30 minutes from your property and you can drive up to it on a road, you don't have to build camps. You don't have to fly things in with a helicopter. Those costs add up, and is why sometimes you're looking at three, four, five, six, $1,000 all in cost per meter. So this is again why I have that rule of thumb that if you have low cost exploration, oftentimes you have the potential for low cost mining as well. It doesn't always work, but it is a pretty good indicator.
and because of all these synergies, I always say to people, 1 gram per ton in this district is like equivalent to 3 grams per ton in other districts.
Right.
So that's an important, I can't stress the importance of what you just said for this district. This is a true statement, and this is why we love being in this district.
And not only that, you're in Quebec, which is one of the best jurisdictions in the world as far as mining friendliness and permitting. So you really are, you've got the best of everything there, and that's why I love Quebec so much. And these geological structures and geology and great deposits all over the place and roads and towns. All add up to why I love Quebec exploration so much.
And it makes sense that Barrick just made a re-entry into the district, right? For all
Right.
those reasons that you're talking about. So in an eco-ego, they always say, you know, what the president and CEO of an eco-ego says he says that the Abitibi is not Nevada, it's bigger.
Yeah, there you go. There you
That's a
go.
quote from him in one of his you know, social media um
And I,
interviews.
I love hearing quotes from Agnico Eagle because I've been pounding the table on Agnico Eagle since they were lower than they are now. And it really is my number one pick for the major mining companies. They've been able to, do what you need to do, which is find gold, mine gold, make money mining gold, keep increasing your production and replacing your what you mine, and they're firing on all cylinders, and that's why they've significantly outperformed Newmont and Barrick. And I think they will continue. So it's all. I'm really happy to hear you've got Agnico Eagle surrounding you, John.
Yeah, it's great. Great opportunity. Like I said, I have relationships with the Nico Eagle. So hopefully I can, I mean, get them involved at some point in time. But with any of these deposits, major companies need thresholds. This is why we want to do an updated Q1 update on a mineral resource. Usually institutions and major mining houses don't get interested until you meet the hurdle of 1 million ounces plus.
Right.
So we're going to be able to do that, I think, and that's why we're doing our 2024 drill in 2023, new conceptual model. We're going to show what we have here and get people excited.
So one of the things that I see a lot of times when a company does a resource estimate is that, sometimes those things can collect dust before any economics are wrapped around them. Do you envision that, not too far in the future after you do a resource that you'll start to look at wrapping some of the economics around it?
Well, it's interesting because we did some mineable shape optimizers. So we made stopes. There's an image in our presentation that already wrapped around some of those economical variables.
Yeah.
And we made little stopes. So it's not a block model you've seen. It's a mineable shape optimizer, which
Oh,
shows you what can you, so each one of those blocks has to be a minimum of 2.5 meters thickness, over 3 grams per ton, with a 30 gram per ton cutoff in order to be mineable. Any blocks that don't meet that criteria would not exist. And we got very similar results to the historical mineral resource. This is just an in-house study. Okay, so if we do a mineral resource estimate, usually they're bigger, but yeah, we're going to do some stope optimization, see what this thing looks like from an economic standpoint as well. So, and we'll put sensitivities on our update so one can see different grades and prices of gold and stuff like that.
John, you're really giving me a good feeling because even when you're describing a resource estimate there, not all resource estimates are created equals, my friends. And
Absolutely.
oftentimes there's a lot of arm waving in those resource estimates. And block model, the way they use blocks to, they connect blocks that maybe don't connect. And so what he's talking about there is an optimized, looking at it from a mining perspective. And so I asked John about the throwing some economics on it. Sometimes you can learn a lot about the potential economics of a project even before it, and it can happen in that when they're doing the resource estimate, because the inputs that you put in, this is another thing that I watch for when I'm looking at a mineral resource estimate, is I want to understand how all the inputs that they put into their cutoff grade and the constraints that they put on their resource estimate and the grade, average grade of that. Because again, you can be pretty arm wavy with your cutoff grade. And if I see a company that is arm wavy with their cutoff grade and arm wavy with their inferred resources, I kind of am a little bit, oh, okay, I gotta, when you gonna do an economic a PEA? But when I see a company that puts all the correct inputs into their resource estimate and they constrain it properly, and then it comes out with a realistic cutoff grade and a realistic average grade. This gives you that margin, gives you some indications of what the economics could look like.
Yeah, and absolutely. And when we want partners such as like the major mining companies like Agnico Eagle, they like to know this stuff. And so basically you do it ahead of time so they can understand the potential. Same with the institutions. They got some experienced geologists, analysts that are looking at you, and you got to have that information. Otherwise, they're not going to invest. And so, we feel as though we have a nice little deposit here that we can grow. And we're not afraid to apply those parameters. And even though it's going to be a lower resource than basically just
If you waved your
a
arms.
middle resource, an
Yep.
inferred resource. We're looking at it from what's mineable and what's not.
Yep. Well, your experience is coming out while I'm talking to you, John. You know, that experience you had at Detour Lake is, sometimes geologists are pure exploration guys and they want to do a lot of arm waving, but they haven't had that experience in a mining setting. And the way you're going about it shows me that not just are you an exploration geologist, but you've been somebody who has had tremendous experience in a mining environment as well.
Absolutely. Like my career is split in half like that. I got 35 years. 2008, me and my team, we won basically Developer of the Year from Northwestern Ontario at Hemlo Mines. They were going to close that mine in 2012. We rebuilt the mine. We did some grade control program. We showed them how the deposit has morphed, and working with the engineers and the geology team and the miners, we really transformed. The mine is still operational. They got another 10 years ahead of them. So for something that was going to close in 2012, we're at least extending that out to 2034,
And it
which is
looks like it
huge.
might have some more life in it beyond that.
Yeah. And then at Detour, they weren't making any money. Our team put together a beautiful model, grade control model. 20% more gold started going through the mill in the same volume of rock. That equated at the time, gold was 1100, to about $150 million per year of extra revenue for the life
Holy,
of mine. Today, at 2,300, $2,400 gold, that's like that same model is increasing their revenue by $350 million per year for life of mine. You're looking at a 40-year mine life potentially.
holy moly.
So this is why Nico Eco grabbed it. They talk about it. It's a huge money maker. At the time, it was $1,100 gold. We saw those discrepancies in what the dollar was and what the gold price was. You remember that?
Yep.
And I remember sitting at the table telling the team, like, because they're struggling, they were producing like $1,000 an ounce, all in sustaining costs. They were at 1,100.
Pretty much
Gold.
swapping dollars for dollars.
And I said, just wait 1 year. All their continuous improvement will be realized because gold will be $1,800. And that's a year later, that's what happened. So
Wow.
then the money started coming in. And I was telling everybody, it's going to be fun. So we're here to have fun on this project. Timing is everything. And I think we're in an environment that is going to reward those that are getting in at this price point right now.
That's awesome. Well, you've really helped my audience understand your story and your news flow and about your experiences. Did I miss anything, John, that you think is important for potential investors to know about Emperor Metals? We started out by mentioning Rob McEwen. He's a very astute guy when it comes to investing in mining, and he's a good friend of our show. Comes on regularly, and having his endorsement helps as well. But did I miss anything else that you think we should talk?
Well, I mean, yeah, the Rob McEwen story, I think you touched on it, but he saw our success in 2023. He saw our growth potential because he looked at all this stuff. And basically, we had an aligned vision for the district. He liked the use of our AI. We're one of the only juniors that is basically birthed in AI
Yeah.
to help advance and acquire projects. So he likes what we're doing. So he wanted to be part of it. So we're really excited that he's a shareholder of our company, and I'm really happy to be working with Rob. He built Goldcore.
Yep.
A funny story too is, I was up in Red Lake when he built Goldcore. I was working for Placer Dome at the time,
Yeah.
and so when I first met him, I said, "Oh, I was in Placer Dome when I saw how you built your empire." I was a younger geologist; he's older than me, and he says, "Oh, you're my competitor."
It,
I didn't, but now I was his competitor in his mind. It was a joke by him, but now he's working with us, so that's exciting.
I'm very good friends with Bob Singh, and I'm actually I consulted for Great Bear, and I'm the guy who brought Bob Singh in to Great Bear, and we had a meeting with Rob a while ago, and he called it the. Bob said, "Oh, we were the benefit of the Rob McEwen." What's it when you get money for going to school? The when you get a grant, not a grant, when you get money.
A
Uh,
bursary or
yeah, exactly. He said something like that. So, that's always a good endorsement. Rob does his homework, and he
a
loves
scholarship, I
gold.
guess.
Yeah, yeah, scholarship. That's
Yeah,
what he called it. He called it the Rob McEwen Scholarship, and we all had a chuckle about that. So you're a benefactor of the Rob McEwen Scholarship as well, and I hope it can turn out to be a fraction of the success that Great Bear was.
yeah.
So great. I really appreciate your time, John.
It, 1 minute, you think about the lake, and you remember, was it Marco Day or whoever they won the big challenge
The Gold Corp
Great
Challenge, yep.
at Gold Court Challenge? Yeah, so that was exciting, and well, I put this deposit into a global challenge. We got third place to King
Oh,
West
wow. Wow.
Map Tech Global Challenge. So we got third place. So that's exciting. I
And I
like what.
think that's probably why Rob was really interested in what you're doing with artificial intelligence, because that Gold Corp challenge was a really innovative move. What they basically did there, folks, is they put all of their geological data out to be crowdsourced and gave away a prize for those that could help them understand how to unlock value. And ultimately, it led them to drilling down about 1,000 meters, which is where they hit the jewelry box or the bonanza zone, and the rest was history. And so Rob has always been an innovator, and it probably the combination of your innovative efforts with artificial intelligence, plus what you had found in your drilling, plus where you were located, probably is led to the investment of Rob into Emperor Metals.
Yeah, and half an hour down the street along that highway is McEwen Mining. So
Yeah, there you go. That doesn't hurt.
no, it doesn't.
Well, John, thanks a lot for your time. And as always, folks, my shows are for information purposes only. You got to do your homework. But as far as this being a launch for your homework, some of the takeaways I immediately get is Quebec, the key structures, the rock packages, the drilling results, the closeology to towns that bring your costs down, the use of artificial intelligence to refine their targeting, and John's experience. Just I hear a lot about people say you got to stick to people, and that that's an easy thing to say when you're talking about a Ross Beatty or even a Rob McEwen. But the people that I like to hang around with and I like to follow are the guys that run the truth machine, and you can learn a lot from those guys. And I've learned a lot talking to John just today, more than I could get by looking at their corporate presentations and stuff like that. What immediately stands out to me is that John is a very talented geologist with exceptional experience in not only exploration but in exploring a mining operation, and looking at it from a miner's perspective, not just an explorer's perspective. And I think the company is in great hands, with John leading the charge of Emperor Metals. And I suggest you do your homework on the company and have a great day. And we'll talk to you soon.